Are you ready to be entertained with pointless jibber-jabber and senseless small talk? If so, then you have come to the right place. It's the Todd Cook Show, starring Todd Cook, and featuring music by local and national artists. Now, broadcasting from his garage, here is Todd Cook.
Hi there. I am back. That's right, I am back. It's been a little while, but I am back. I'm here, you are here. I am talking, you are listening. This is the Todd Cook Show. I am Todd Cook. And where have I been, you might be wondering. It has been at least 1, maybe 2 weeks since I've had a podcast posted up onto this YouTube channel. And you're wondering why? Well, I was on vacation. That's right. Even I, a hardworking podcaster like myself, has to take a vacation on occasion, and that is what I just did. I went up to Indiana. I'm currently here in Wichita, and I need to change the opening there. It says I'm in my garage, which is where I used to have my studio set up, but now my studio is in my basement. So I need to change that sometime so it says that I'm recording this live in my basement in Wichita, Kansas. But I went up to Indiana, which is where I was born and raised, and went to attend my 20-year high school reunion. And also, my mom and dad still live there, so I went to visit them as well. And I'm going to tell you about the high school reunion and a little bit maybe about my vacation as well, but definitely about the high school reunion in just a few moments. Also, I'm going to tell you about me and my 6-year-old son, Johnny, going Bigfoot hunting. That's right, we went Bigfoot hunting just yesterday, as a matter of fact. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that as well. I got music by a band called Shunned. Shunned is a heavy metal band out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'm going to tell you a little bit about them later on and play one of their songs coming up later towards the end of this program. So you want to stay tuned for that as well. All in all, I think this is going to be a great show, so you don't want to miss any of it. Let's get started. Let's talk about my trip up to Indiana. Like I said, my mom and dad still live there. So I went to go visit them. It's been a little while since we had been there, me and my wife and my 2 kids, and they hadn't seen their kids yet. And so we went up there to visit, and we had this scheduled already at some point that we were wanting to come. And it just so happened that my high school 20-year class reunion was going to happen about the same time. And so that made the trip even that much more enjoyable and that much more desirable. And so I'm going to tell you about that high school reunion right here. I told some of the people there to listen to this. And by the way, this is the Todd Cook Show, and I use the name Todd Cook here, but if there's anybody out there listening right now, especially from my high school, Warsaw High School class of 1993, woohoo! If anybody out there is listening, this is actually John North. And I was there at the reunion. I just used this name Todd Cook for this program, and I explained that on like episode 1, if you want to go back and listen to that. 20 years is a long time. I mean, it's a really long time. And for some strange reason, I even had some of the same anxiety that I had back then, going to high school, maybe for the first time as a freshman. And it's kind of one of those weird things. It's like one of my most reoccurring nightmares. It used to be tornadoes. I used to dream about tornadoes all the time. But I think in the more recent years, for some reason, the most reoccurring nightmare I have is that I'm in high school and I can't find the room I need to go to, and I can't find my schedule, and I'm wandering around hallway to hallway, room to room, and I can't find where I need to go, and I don't even know where I need to go, and at some point I just want to get out of the building, and then I can't even find an exit, and I wake up in a sweat. And so I don't know, maybe I've had a lot of anxiety over the years, from high school or whatever, but that's my most reoccurring nightmare, and going to this high school reunion, you would think, since I had so much anxiety like that, and since I've had so many of those reoccurring nightmares, you'd think I'd been a little nervous about going to this reunion. And in fact, you might think that I wouldn't want to go at all. And I kind of remember around the 10-year wondering if they were having one. It seems like somebody had contacted me at some point, or they let me know they were having a 10-year one, but that was before Facebook. And so that made it kind of hard to get together. But I remember back then, I'm quite confident that if I was invited and if I'd known there was a high school reunion 10 years ago, I don't think I would have went. But something in the last 10 years has changed me, I guess. And I was actually looking forward to this quite a bit. It wasn't, really anxious and not nervous or anything. But there was a lot of a build-up to it. Oh boy, here comes. It's like going back to high school again. My 20-year high school reunion is coming up. I'm going to it right now, and I still don't have my homework done, or something like that. It was kind of strange, but it was really neat seeing a lot of the people there, and it's kind of a strange thing to go, and the place that we went, it was open to the public. Originally, they were trying to get a banquet hall or somewhere reserved just for our class, so that when you go, everybody there would either be in our class or they'd be a spouse or a significant other of somebody in our class. But the majority of the people there would be in our class. But this was at a place that was open to the public. There's probably a couple hundred people there. I don't know. It seemed pretty crowded. And so there's a lot of we did have a balcony that was reserved. So once I got up to the balcony, I knew that everybody up there should be from our class. But I spent a lot of time like looking around, wondering, that person looks familiar. This person kind of looks familiar. That person I definitely know. And I had that on more than one occasion. As soon as you see them, it's just like a little, a snap in your head. I know who that guy is. That's so-and-so. And you go over and start talking to them. I know who that is. That's so-and-so. And you go talk to them. And there's other ones that you look at for a long time, and it slowly starts coming to you, and you start recognizing them, but they have to tell you who they are before you're like, oh, yes, of course. And other ones that it takes you a little while to look at them and start to figuring it out in your head and remembering, and you're able to come up with their name yourself. And I had all three. I even have one guy who I remember in high school quite well. I remember it seemed like we had study hall or something together, sat across the table from each other quite a bit, and he told me who he was, and I still don't believe him because I remember him from high school, and he has changed quite a bit. And like I said, others had not changed, and it was almost a little. I don't know what the right word is. The only word that comes to my mind is kind of creepy at times. Not to say that anybody in my class was a creepy person, but seeing somebody that you haven't seen in 20 years is kind of creepy. Now, I've lived here in Wichita for 10 years, or in the Wichita area for 10 years now. And so I've definitely been removed from those people for at least 10 years. And even prior to that, when I lived and worked in Warsaw, Indiana, I worked at a grocery store there for a while, and I remember seeing different members of my class, coming through and stuff, and on occasion I'd see them. But a lot of them I never even saw during that period. A lot of them I hadn't seen at all since high school, but most of them, it's been at least 10 years since I've seen them, or 20 years. And it's kind of creepy. It's like you see somebody, but they're from so long ago that it feels like that there's some kind of a time travel going on. That I feel like at times I need to, maybe hit the little emblem on my chest so I could page, Captain Picard and let him know that there's been a tear in the space and time continuum, and that people from 20 years ago are suddenly arriving into the present. I mean, it was kind of strange like that. It's been so long, and I was so far removed from that time that to have it all come together again was, I don't know the better word for it than just kind of creepy at first, until you been there for a while and get kind of relaxed. And but yeah, I had a really good time. They had a reggae band playing, which it seemed kind of strange. In northern Indiana, it's pretty far from the Caribbean there, but we had a reggae band playing, and this place had volleyball courts up. They had sand and stuff, and I wanted to play volleyball, but they wouldn't let us play volleyball. I guess they only have volleyball on certain nights when it's scheduled to happen, and you can't just kind of spontaneously start a volleyball game, but that might have been kind of fun. And it was weird, too, because it was the end of July, and anywhere in the United States, but especially Indiana for sure, it should be fairly warm that time of year. Usually hot and sometimes unbearably hot, but for at least part of the time we were up on this little balcony area, and it's outdoors, and just kind of a strange weather system had come through, so it was a little chilly at times out there. And I remember at some point telling one of the guys, you should have organized this during a time of the year when it's not so cold. But after you get moving around and you get mingling with the crowd, I did not notice that it was cold very long after that. The only somewhat frustrating part of the evening for me was that they had these plastic tables, these extremely lightweight plastic tables. literally just, they're made out of one piece. You can literally bend down and grab a leg of these tables with one hand and probably lift it right up over your head. Very lightweight, very easy to move around, but extremely unstable. I think a fly could have landed on these tables and it would have caused them to wobble. Well, imagine what happened with my size 13 Fred Flintstone type feet. I just go to try to sit down and, try to move my feet underneath the table, and I would just bump one of the legs of the table. And at one point, I knocked my drink over, and I think another time I knocked another drink over, because there were some people were downstairs, some were upstairs, and you kind of just mingling around. And at different points, you sit down at different tables, and my stupid feet kept bumping into those stupid tables. It was ridiculous. And but I've always been like that. I go to restaurants a lot, and my wife will tell you, I sit down and my feet will hit the table, but normally the tables are made out of wood or, even steel or something a little heavier, so when I bump into them, they might vibrate a little bit, but these plastic things about fell over. It was like there was a 9.6 earthquake all of a sudden, and things are falling everywhere. And another thing I used to do quite a bit is when I go to sit down like at a booth at a restaurant, if there's a hanging lampshade or a light fixture above the table, the way that I lean in and to go to sit down, I would hit my head on those light fixtures quite a bit. My friends used to make fun of me quite a bit. We'd go out to eat somewhere, and as we're sitting down, my head would hit the lampshade above the table. And so I've always been clumsy like that, but it was a good time. I really enjoyed seeing everybody out there, and I still can't believe it's been 20 years. And I'm looking forward with Facebook and stuff now. It makes it a lot easier to keep in touch with everybody, and hoping maybe our 25-year reunion will be even better. All right, I need to take a break here, and I'll be back in just a few short minutes. I'm going to leave you. This is a commercial break for everybody out there in the Wichita area. This is for you, everybody all across the country. Just hang on, and I'll be back in a little bit. So don't go anywhere.
You're listening to The Todd Cook Show.
Hi, Todd Cook here. Do you like going out on Friday or Saturday nights for some supper and live music, but you're not into the bar scene? Because let's face it, when the alcohol starts to flow, those places can get a little loud and a bit rowdy. Sometimes to the point that it becomes difficult for you to enjoy your food or the music. Do you wish that there was a place that had good food, good music, but a less distracting atmosphere? A place that you can enjoy the food and the music, but still get home at a decent hour? Well, that place does exist, and it's right here in Wichita on the corner of Douglas and Hillside, or 110 South Hillside to be exact. It's called The Kiln. They have live music every Friday and Saturday night starting at 7 p.m. and ending at 9. The Kiln is a Christian-ran, non-alcoholic establishment that operates solely on donations. And they always have great food and great entertainment. And one of the best parts, you don't need a babysitter. You can bring the kids with you. So for more information, contact Mike through the Facebook page. The Kiln, K-I-L-N, and be sure to check it out yourself this Friday or Saturday night. 110 South Hillside, corner of Douglas and Hillside in Wichita. The Kiln, where they are always glad you came.
His lips are moving, but he ain't saying anything. Todd Cook.
All right, I am back. That commercial break is over. Thanks for everybody for sticking with me. By the way, the best way to get a hold of me is to reach me at my email address, which is thetoddcookshow@gmail.com. And if you're listening to this program through YouTube, which is youtube.com/The Todd Cook Show, you can also listen to it on iTunes as well. Just go to the podcast section of iTunes, and you can find The Todd Cook Show there as well. And I made a little mistake here. I meant to talk about my high school reunion later in the show, because whatever handful of my high school classmates, maybe a dozen of them or more, if I'm really lucky, that are listening to this right now, if I would have saved that for the end of the show, they might have stayed tuned a little longer. But now they know that I'm not going to talk about them anymore. And actually, I didn't talk about any of them specifically. I kind of told them that I might talk about them to try to get them to listen. But in reality, I wouldn't bring up anybody personally at all. It was a great time. Had a good time. But now I'm going to be talking about my son and I going Bigfoot hunting, and they'll probably just click off and go about doing whatever they are doing instead of listening to the rest of the show. However, you don't want to do that because I have music from one of your classmates coming up in just a little bit, a band called Shunned, and I'm going to play a song by them here in just a few short moments. Normally this program is only a half hour, but it's probably going to go over a little bit, which is okay. I'm in control of everything. Nobody cares how long my show is, just as long as it's good and entertaining for however long it is. All right, let me tell you about the Bigfoot hunting. If you listened to this program before, you might have remember an episode where I talked about how my son fell in love with this TV show called Finding Bigfoot. It's on the Animal Planet. This group of 4 people go out to different areas where there's been Bigfoot sightings, and they try to do a little research, and they try to do a little recon, and they try to make some noises that will draw the Bigfoot in, and or the big feet. I don't know. I think the plural of Bigfoot is just Bigfoots. I don't know. But anyway, and my son loved this show, and he even got to meet some of all the cast members of the show a little while back as they came through Wichita, and he just absolutely loves it. And for a long time, he's been asking me to take him Bigfoot hunting. He wants to go out somewhere to go Bigfoot hunting. And I told him I would this summer before school started, and lo and behold, school is right around the corner, so I had to get it done. So we went out this weekend. My uncle and aunt have a farm out here in Kansas. They got about 40 acres, and there's really no population out there at all. It's them and like 1 or 2 other houses, for a good square mile out there. So it's a big open area out there, and they got 40 acres. It's got a little of a wooded area and a couple meadows or pastures, if you want to call them that, out there, and even a little creek that goes through. So I thought I'd take Johnny out there and let him do a little Bigfoot hunting. And we got out there, and it was calling for storms the entire time. Johnny wanted to set up a tent and stuff, but it was supposed to rain. And I told him, I don't think we're going to be setting up a tent. We'll just sleep inside of your uncle and aunt's house. We'll just sleep inside there. And if it's not raining, we'll go out and try to do some Bigfoot hunting. But if it's raining too hard, we're just not going to be able to do it. Maybe we'll wait till the morning or do it while it's still daylight or something. We'll try to get it done. And so we got out there, and my uncle suggested maybe if he really want to stay in a tent, he's got a big pole barn out there. He's like, just pitch the tent inside the pole barn, and we'll keep the overhead door open, so you'll still be like you're outdoors, except for if it rains really hard, you're going to stay dry, and you're not going to take any risk of being flooded, in your tent. And so I had that in the back of my head, but when we got there, it was still suffocatingly hot and humid, and I was like, oh man, I don't want to sleep out here. But at some point, about an hour and a half before the sun went down, I think the cold front started coming through, and it started cooling down a little bit, and I said, all right, if we can pitch a tent inside the pole barn, it should work out fine. And so that's what we decided to do. Before that, we actually walked down. I took Johnny while it was still daylight because I wanted him to be able to see, where we're going. And it had rained a lot already, and so there's different water holes. We were going to put our mud boots on and walk out there, but I wanted to go out there while it was still daylight to be able to, look around and get an idea of where I needed to go, so that while it's dark, even with a flashlight and stuff, it can be kind of hard to navigate. So we went out there down to the creek, while it was daylight, just kind of looked around, looked for some Bigfoot tracks, and didn't find any. And then went back and decided to go ahead and pitch a tent inside the barn there. And so I set the tent up and everything, and went back in. Of course, Johnny didn't want to help me pitch the tent. He stayed inside and played on the iPad, which is probably pretty typical of any 6-year-old boy. But it was a really easy tent to put up, and my uncle actually helped me a little bit. But we got it up out there, and went back inside, and like I said, it cooled down, but everything was wet, so there's still a lot of bugs and stuff, and so we don't want to go out there in shorts because the grass is kind of high, the weeds are out there, and so we put jeans on, and I put jeans on him and jeans on myself, and put him in long sleeves, and sprayed ourselves down. And my uncle gave us these little like miners headlights that you put on your head, and it's got the little flashlight on your forehead, which Johnny thought was the coolest thing, and gave us some walkie-talkies, which I did not have. And Johnny really loved the walkie-talkies. We'd be just 5 feet from each other, and he'd still want to talk to me on the walkie-talkie. But we got out there. The tent was set up and got everything ready, and no longer, I kid you not, right as we were getting ready to head out out the door of the barn and out towards the back pasture, it started raining. And at first, it wasn't raining too hard. And like I said, this is really probably our last chance to do this. And it wasn't cold. I wasn't worried about, catching a cold or anything. Kids can play in the rain. It's fine. And it was still, probably 80 degrees out. But it started raining. And we were thinking about heading out, and we started changing our mind. And at some point, it was starting to get kind of dark. And I was like, well, I definitely want to try to at least get out there before dark. I didn't want to spend the entire time, while it was dark. I was kind of afraid we get out there and Johnny might get scared once it gets dark. Or maybe I'll get scared. I don't know. But I wanted to try to do most of it while it was still a little daylight. But it was raining, and I couldn't get my signal on my cell phone, so I went inside, and, with their internet connection inside, they were able to show me the radar. It didn't look like it was going to stop anytime real soon. It wasn't raining really hard, so I said, let's just do it. I asked him if he wanted to go out in the rain. He said, sure. So we went out in the rain, and we walked out there, and it's probably 100 yards to get out from their property out to the back area, the back open pasture area. And we get out there, and there's 4 cows, and they're not their cows, but they let somebody else use their land for these 4 cows, the graze out there. And they told me ahead of time, they're out there, but he said, you just walk out there, ignore them. And so we walked out there, but it was just starting to get kind of dark. Just about dusk, and we got the flashlights and our headlights and everything, and we had heard rumors that there was a deer skeleton out there, a deer that had died somehow and was laying out there, and this is what we were in pursuit of. We wanted to go out and see this deer skeleton, and so we're walking out there, and my uncle told me just about where it was, and I go out there. He said there's like a big hill, a mound of dirt out there that they use, for like a shooting range. He goes, go out there, and it's right there on the right side of that, and you'll find it. I go out there, and we're going around this this mound of dirt, with this little light that I have in my hand, and I'm circling around it, and I cannot find this deer skeleton. And in the meantime, these cows are kind of following us out there, and it's a little scary. I'm not a country guy. I grew up in a small town, never really been on a farm too much. I don't know anything about cows. And they're right there, and they're kind of following us a little bit. And the little part in the back of my head is getting a little worried. I was like, I don't think they're aggressive or anything. They're not going to chase us. They're just cows. In the meantime, Johnny doesn't care at all. But we're going around the circle, and we're trying to find this deer skeleton. Can't find it anywhere. And every now and then I look over my shoulder, and those cows are getting closer, and they're getting closer. And I'm thinking, they're just curious or whatever. Maybe they think that we got some hay or something or some kind of a treat, and we're going to feed them or something. I don't know. And at some point, I can't find this deer skeleton. So I get out my cell phone. Luckily, I have enough signal. I call back to the house, and he tells me, he's like, just look towards the right of that mound. You'll see like an old chain link fence that had been torn out of the ground and was laying there. He says it's right underneath the chain link fence that's laying flat on the ground. I was like, oh, well, okay, because I saw the fence there, but I just ignored it because I thought it was just a fence. But approached the chain link fence and looked at it, and Johnny thought that was the greatest thing in the world. I asked him, you think maybe a Bigfoot got that deer? And he thought, maybe, don't know, Daddy. And we got the light down there real close so I could kind of film it and stuff. And then we start walking back towards the creek because Johnny wanted to do some Bigfoot calls. You just hold your hands up around your mouth and do these big yells, and it's supposed to, attract the Bigfoot. And so we start walking, from that the skeleton of that deer out towards this fenced area, and on the other side there's a creek there. And as we start walking there, those cows start following us a little bit again. And again, I'm a little worried about the cows. I don't know what they're going to do. Johnny doesn't care at all. He's just amazed at how many sounds of the crickets and the different bug noises and even frogs that you can hear croaking. It was just really loud. It was amazing how many critters were out there making noises. And by this time, it's pitch black now. All I can see is with my flashlight, and I'm holding it, trying to walk, and, we both got boots on, so every now and then we step into a puddle up, over our ankles, but we just keep walking. And we get over there to a certain area, and there's a little electrical fence there, but it was unplugged because he knew that we were going to be out there, so I unplugged it, and I lifted Johnny over the fence, and I stepped over the fence. And we go out there, we make a couple Bigfoot calls, and Johnny just thought it was the greatest thing ever. And he'd stop and make the call and stop and listen to see if when the Bigfoot would call back. And we stayed out there a little while, and then we come back over the fence, and we start walking back towards our camp area back up towards the property of the house, the barn. And we get to one area where there's an opening in the fence there. And I go to start walking through there, and I see something big moving. And I kind of step back a little bit, and for a brief second, I thought, oh crap, we actually found a Bigfoot. But it was just one of the cows, one of the 4 cows. And 3 of them were black, and 1 was white. And as I'm looking around, I can see the one white one now, but I still can't see the 3 black ones. And at some point, I get close enough, and with my flashlight and stuff, I can look around, and I see all 3 of them are standing right there where we need to walk through. They're blocking the way. And we're still a little ways away, and Johnny's right there. He's just talking about this and that, and I think he's still making Bigfoot calls at some point and talking on his walkie-talkie to me. And we get up there close to these cows, and I realized, okay, they're going to have to move. Either they're going to move, or we're going to have to like walk and push them out of the way. I don't know. I was afraid if I yelled, they might like charge after us. And again, I don't know anything about cows. I don't know how they react to people, especially out there in the middle of the pasture somewhere. And I want to keep Johnny close because I was kind of worried that if they did get spooked, they might just start running in some random direction and, run over us, not even realize we're there. As far as I know, cows can't even see in the dark. They could have been asleep standing there for all I know. So I was a little worried that they might, get spooked and start running and maybe run over one of us. So I got Johnny close to me and I said, "Here, hold my hand." And I saw a little opening between them. I was like, "Let's just start walking, and either they'll move out of our way, or we'll get trampled, one of the two." And at some point, Johnny says, I think he finally sees the cows and see how close we are to him. He gets a little worried himself, and he says, "Daddy, do cows ever attack people?" And I said, "No, Johnny, cows don't attack people." That's what I said out of my mouth, but in the back of my brain somewhere, I'm thinking, maybe, I don't know. I've heard stories of mean bulls chasing people, but these are just cows, and so I'm a little worried, but we're walking kind of slow. And at some point, we got close enough to them, and I could see where all 4 of them were, and they got scared and just kind of scattered and went different directions, and we were able to walk through there. But I thought that was pretty funny, Johnny. "Daddy, do cows ever attack people?" No, son, cows don't attack people. When the whole time I think I was more worried that they might do that than he was. But anyway, we had a great time out there, and the rain did stop long enough that we were able to go out there and do what he wanted to do, and he thought it was a blast. And we made a little video, and I'll edit that video and try to get it up on my YouTube channel as well, so everybody can see our little video of us doing some Bigfoot hunting here in Kansas. All right, it's time to play that song for you. When I was at the high school reunion, I ran into one of my classmates, and I'd seen through Facebook that he was in a band. And so we started talking. I'm in a band, he's in a band. We started talking, and forget the fact that I am in a band that is an acoustic bluegrass type of band with a banjo in it, and he is in a heavy metal band. That doesn't matter. We still found some common ground, and we talked about our experiences in our bands and stuff. And I told him I'd play one of his songs on my podcast, and he said, "Go right ahead. That sounds great." And he gave me a few songs to pick from. And the song that I picked is, if I can find it here. Right here. It's called "By the Way," and the band is called Shun. So you can go to iTunes and look up Shun there, or go to on Facebook, and you probably find something there as well. But here is "By the Way" by Shun on the Todd Cook Show.
Long story
was Shunned with By the Way, band out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. Look them up on iTunes or Facebook. Shunned from Fort Wayne, Indiana. The song was called By the Way, and that song was brought to you by B&B Towing. If you need any kind of a towing service, you need to call Cheyenne Brown at B&B Towing. He's a 20-year veteran of the United States Air Force. Now he owns his very own towing company, B&B Towing. This is for those folks in the Wichita, Kansas area. If you're in Vermont or Warsaw, Indiana, or Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is the area that I was at last week, you can't call this guy. He's not going to drive all the way from Kansas to Vermont or Indiana to tow your vehicle. But anywhere in the Wichita, Kansas area, he will do that for you. The phone number is 316-214-4021. That's 316-214-4021. And with that, I'm going to take another little short break. Here's a commercial for those folks who are in the Wichita, Kansas area.
The Todd Cook Show. We'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. Do you live in the Wichita area? Are you looking for a great place for lunch or dinner? Do you love live acoustic music but don't know where to go? Try the Artichoke Sandwich Bar. It is located on the corner of Broadway and Murdoch in Wichita, and it is a fantastic place to eat and listen to live music. It is located on the corner of Broadway and Murdoch in Wichita, and what goes better with a sandwich than a cold beer? So look up the Artichoke Bar on Facebook today to find out when they are opened and what musical artist is performing next. They just celebrated their 30th year in business, so you know they're doing something right. The Artichoke Sandwich Bar, 811 North Broadway, Wichita, Kansas, where everything is okie dokie artichoke.
Charlie Brown's teacher is easier to understand than he is. Todd.
Hey, I resent that remark. I can't understand Charlie Brown's teacher at all. But I'm sure somebody out there listening can understand me at least a little bit. Okay, I got one more short segment for you. Like I said, normally this show is only 30 minutes long, but I'm going over a little bit. But that's okay. I'm going to finish this last little segment by asking this question. Who are the people out there who can sleep through thunderstorms? Because I'm not one of them, but there are people out there that just sleep soundly through thunderstorms. And to those people, I want to ask you, not only who the heck are you, but how can you sleep through a thunderstorm? Okay, it's loud noises and flashing lights, bright flashing lights and loud noises. If that doesn't wake you up, what does? Do you have an alarm clock? Does somebody have to come in and grab you physically and shake you about to wake you up? If loud crashing thunder and bright flashes of light does not wake you up, then what does? I'm jealous of you. Maybe there's some kind of technique that you can teach me because I cannot sleep through a thunderstorm. And I've lived in Indiana and now Kansas, which is like the capital of the thunderstorm world. And I cannot sleep when there's a thunderstorm. Anytime there's a threat of thunderstorm, you might just cross out a good night's sleep for me. It's just not going to happen. Why? Loud noises and bright flashing lights wake me up. Now, sometimes we got some pretty thick curtains in our bedroom, and so sometimes you don't get the flashing light as much. But definitely the loud cracking of the lightning strikes and the thunder, some people sleep right through that. I never understood that. And as we were done Bigfoot hunting and went back to bed, you know, more and more rainstorms were coming through. It seemed like 2 or 3 different times during the night I woke up to the sound of thunder and lightning because we kept the overhead door open there. But at some point I was going to get up. Johnny seemed to be sleeping pretty good. I seen him kind of get up and look a little worried a few times and said something like, "Daddy, there's thunder and lightning." I said, "Yeah, it's okay. Lay back down." He seemed fine. At some point I wanted to get up and close the overhead door. But I was afraid if I did that, it'd get like really hot and humid inside the pole barn. There was an overhead door on both sides of it, and they were both open, and we had a fan, you know, kind of circulating the air through there, so it was kind of nice. But I was a little worried if you shut that one, we wouldn't get that good air circulation, so I didn't want to do that. But at about 2 o'clock in the morning, after I had not yet slept because of the bright flashing of the lightning in my face every few seconds and some of the loud thunder kept me awake, I went ahead and got up and shut that overhead door, and got a decent night's sleep. I think maybe 3-4 hours of sound sleep, maybe 5 to 6 hours of kind of sleeping. But we had a good time, and maybe someday we'll do that again. But hopefully he won't be into the Bigfoot hunting for too long. But those people out there that can sleep through a thunderstorm, who are you? Are you a zombie? Have you checked your pulse lately? Something's wrong with you. All right, I'm going to end the show here, but I got 2 more things to talk about, kind of going out on a kind of a sad note. Shortly before we left Indiana to come back home here to Kansas, we got word that my wife's grandmother had passed away. Her name was Billy, and as Samantha referred to her, Grandma Billy. And, so it's kind of a bittersweet, be able to come, finally getting home, but then having to go to her funeral right afterwards. And from what I remember from Grandma Billy, she was just the stereotypical nice grandma who was always very nice to me and always very concerned with my kids, her grandkids, making sure they're always okay. And so she will be missed. We will miss Grandma Billy. And also, we lost a radio personality, Kid Craddock, over the weekend as well, I believe the same day. And, I'm doing this podcast because I love talk radio so much. And Kid Craddock is one of those guys that did the type of talk radio that I like. The only thing about a show I didn't like was between the talking, his program actually played music. So I'd rather just have talking the entire time. But he's been around for a long time. I think the word legend would fit him. And so I will miss listening to Kid Craddock as well. So R.I.P. Grandma Billy and R.I.P. Kid Craddock. And I think that's it for this episode. Thanks everybody listening out there. I appreciate it quite a bit. I know I got my listeners around here in the Wichita area and my family in different parts of the country as well. And I'm not sure if you're hearing that music. Yeah, you're hearing the music. Let me turn the music down there just a little bit. Wasn't sure if I had everything plugged in right. But that's it for this episode of the Todd Cook Show. Thanks very much for listening. Tune in 1 week from today, and there'll be a new episode. So tune in then, and I'll talk. You listen.